Who talks about Armada 2.0, I swear to God I will come for you.
Saying that they are surprise mechanics, and people love surprises.
To get a Bane Blade, the plastic Bane Blade, to sell in the store at ROE Games, 19 Park Lane, Havelock. Come by, see us.
Aoski here, and this is By the Numbers.
This week we're going to be going over character creation for Wrath and Glory.
My name is Keith, or you can call me ArmorBoy21. It's my gaming deck. Today we're going to learn D&D.
Oh, hello there. Your armor, sir?
Boom!
You take 7 points of damage.
Alright guys, we're rocking out really hard tonight. So what we got going on is Grease.
There will be swearing and or shenanigans of the adult nature.
God damn it!
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Gamer Interrupted. My name is AJ East Coast, and I am your host for tonight. I have with me some very special guests, some of my best friends in the whole world. How you doing tonight, Mr. Bill and Isaac Miranda Lorien, and Bill Boyo? How you doing?
Hello, AJ. Hello, Isaac.
Hey, I'm doing great.
Yeah, so
Great to be on the stream.
yeah, welcome to the stream. If you guys recognize the Miranda Lorien, at least his username, you've gained a little bit of a notorious following because of your username. It's kind of like a lot of people. It's kind of like word of mouth around Full Sail. Like, oh, do you know the Miranda Lorien? Like,
It's a real thing.
yeah. So if you recognize that, he is one of our current VIP fans. I believe you are our very first one back in March, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Isaac.
Yeah, very, very early on.
Well, I believe this is episode 24, Billy. You've been an avid listener as well. If you guys didn't know, both of these guys are recent graduates of Full Sail University Game Design Master's Program. If we get some hype in the chat for them, congratulations once again, both of y'all. Billy, I was not able to attend, or none of us were able to attend your ceremony. I wasn't able to watch yours. I know, Isaac, you got valedictorian of your class. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hey, same here.
And Billy, yes, we were waiting.
High five.
I was waiting to see. Yes, 2 valedictorians here tonight. Oh,
Wrong side.
So, tonight, if you guys have any questions for either one of them, please feel free to put it in the chat. We're gonna go ahead and get started with our interview. So, Billy, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, all that goodness.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks, AJ. I am originally from Boston area, namely more specifically the South Shore, where a lot of folks take sports very seriously, and that's what I grew up doing, playing a lot of sports.
I assume you're big Boston sports fans then?
Yes.
Yeah.
It starts very young, where the dirty water is.
That's right. We gotta love that dirty water.
The New England Pats. Yeah. So, yeah, it was basically a jump into games from the get-go with very fortunate circumstance with the family signing up myself and siblings for sports. Soccer was easily one, as that's a very accessible sport, as well as some baseball, some basketball. And those are just kind of just fond memories for so many of us. And I've remained relishing those to this day, just remembering my father on the sidelines with a scabby cap and a pipe, just telling me to turn it on, running down the field. You just never forget that. It's very wonderful, that sort of scene. And I jumped into high school, and when I had not made the basketball team, I noticed a pal named Nick who did track and field, and he did half mile, aka 800 meter. That's what a half mile is. Mm-hmm. And I learned it was the most grueling race in the 800 meter, and it was just a ball to try to sprint from the start and finish sprinting somehow. I would get pretty sick running a race like that. And there was always that sense of nerves going in. Is it going to be a personal best? Just really got into that, making the performance better, meet by meet, etc. And also some soccer was played there, along with, speaking of playing, some Xbox that jumped into the fold, the Xbox Live. Actually, speaking of track too, I remember where I was on the track when my buddy, aka Fat Mitch, mentioned, yeah, there's going to be people playing Xbox against one another over the internet.
That's crazy, man.
Like, you gotta be
Oh man.
What was that, Isaac?
Yes.
Oh, it was a revelation at the time.
Yeah, man. Would you say that was your game designer aha moment?
That it was.
Yeah. We brought that up on the stream before. Everyone's got one.
In a sense, yes. I actually played some Xbox at Fat Mitch's house on Halo Combat Evolved. And that's where I sort of just small fell in love with first-person shooters and shooting aliens, enemy aliens at that. And yeah, it was not hard to be competitive on the Xbox, playing against other folks and having fun while doing so. Yet, growing up with sports, it was always basically second nature to do just that. So yeah, just playing, what was it, boarding action, classic map. Just with pistols, it was only 3 shots to the head. And there was no sprinting, it was pretty simple. 2 basically spaceships looking at each other and some different portals. Really cool map design, and it's something, for some reason, you don't really see out there with a lot of the newer games, at least from what I've played.
That's true. Well, Isaac, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Give us a little introduction for you.
Yeah, definitely. So, born and raised in Vermont, grew up in Burlington. So, you know, did a lot of skiing, hiking, outdoorsy kind of stuff in my youth. And so I guess what first kind of got me into video games was when I was about, I must have been like 10 or 11 years old. I was sledding and I crashed and broke my collarbone.
Oh, wow. Goodness.
I was going to have to be inside for, recess for the whole winter, which was, for an 11-year-old kid, that's a nightmare. And I needed something to do. So my parents decided to get me a Game Boy Advance and got Pokemon Ruby.
Hell yeah.
And never looked back since then. Still probably one of my top 3 favorite games of all time. And then from there, just kind of fell in love with gaming. Went from a GameCube playing the original Lord of the Rings games and, Mario and
all the good. So the
Mario Kart.
It's funny you bring up the Lord of the Rings games. Those were so good for their time. So like looking back at them as an adult, I look back at them, I'm like, okay, now, I know like games can be made a lot better than that. But when I was like, 10, maybe a little bit younger than that, that was the shit. That was the best fucking game, those Lord of the Rings games.
Nothing compared. Nothing compared. And then, so after that, I moved on to the PS2 and played a lot of Battlefield 2. I think that was pretty much the only game I played. And from there, I moved on to the Xbox 360 when I remember I got one right as I went into middle school, and that was really when online gaming really started to become a big thing.
Did you have the classic Xbox where you had to go and get that stupid ass Wi-Fi attachment that cost $100?
No, I don't.
I did. Yeah, Billy's raising his hand, guys. Yeah, he did as well.
I don't think I had that issue. But yeah, I remember just loving the Xbox 360. I think the first game I got was Halo 3. Love Halo. That was an amazing game. I think hands down probably the best Halo game in the franchise for me. And then I still vividly remember being in middle school and like the new Call of Duty game would come out, and we'd go to whoever's house had the biggest TV, and we'd have a LAN party with all the Xboxes, and played.
man.
I remember vividly when Modern Warfare 2 came out, everyone went to my friend's place and we were having a LAN party playing that game.
LAN parties are just
know,
not a thing anymore. I mean, obviously not anymore because of
Yeah.
the virus and stuff like that, but LAN parties in general, beforehand weren't really a thing like that. Everyone's like, there's no reason to come over to my buddy's house anymore. I was like, but for me as a gamer, I miss that. I miss that couch style gaming,
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's something that, of course, playing over the internet, you can still talk to your friends and interact with them, but you kind of lose something
Right.
in translation when you're not sitting in the same room as people playing a game. So that's definitely something I miss from that. But yeah, so the Xbox 360 era was a great era. Some really, really incredible games. In high school, I didn't have a whole lot of time to play games, but I definitely made the time when I could.
Right.
To play. I must have played 1,000 hours of Skyrim on the Xbox 360. And yeah, so after that, after graduating from high school, I moved on to the Xbox One, and that may have been not a great purchase at the time because there was a lot of controversy when it first came out. But I was fully in on the Xbox camp at that point.
Xbox loyal. I'd say that you are like both of y'all actually are some of the most loyal Xbox fans I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, Xbox is just a lot more consumer friendly in my opinion, and that's sort of why I lean towards them. And I've always been a Halo fan, Forza fan, and really, really into both of those franchises.
Well, go ahead, Bill.
Really embeds that off the two joysticks for movement. That was semi-revolutionary at the time in a first-person shooter, and just the fact that the joysticks are offset, really, I got hooked on, and it was just hard to drop that. Kind of like when N64 released a game called Star Fox 64, and what came with that game was an accessory known as the Rumble Pack.
Yep, the Rumble Pack. For those of you that are a little bit younger that don't know what that is, you had to literally, it was an actual pack, and you had to plug it in.
Yeah, I could have it. It was like a workout for us candy-eating gamers.
It's a wrist workout,
Yeah, of course. But
Absolutely.
Billy, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about you're quite the impressive Rocket League player. I've heard you've gotten Yep, there's the hat. Yeah, I've seen you've gotten is that right? You made Diamond and you've done Platinum and stuff like that with Rocket League, and you're telling me a lot of you've met a lot of your friends, and you've continued to grow friendships through Xbox as well.
Yeah, it's been an absolute mainstay. One could catch up on the phone, and while talk is great, it's great to catch up. Talk can also be cheap after a certain point, and when one does an activity together, it's a whole new realm of experience, interpersonal experience. I've had folks like Bostonian 26, Shags 2 Dope, Papadopoulos on the Rocket League, making sure that the skills are always sharp. And yes, going for that platinum each season is a fun thing. It's actually relatively semi-standard. There's a great scale of it, yet Plat 3 is something like the top 30% of players. And once upon a time, I did get Diamond.
Wow.
And that was whoa, I'm not all the way trash at this wonderful game known as Rocket League.
And Isaac, you're a pretty competitive player as well into a lot of the shooters, from what I understand, Escape from Tarkov, Modern Warfare, Warzone, all that stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think the game that kind of really got me into sort of more competitive play was Rainbow Six Siege. I think it was the first game that I felt
oh hell yeah,
had a really steep learning curve, but the learning curve was something that was achievable, and you could work towards getting better at the game. And also, I don't think I'd played a game or have played a game up to this point that is a first-person shooter that requires teamwork the way that game does.
A lot of teamwork. I mean, not to interrupt you, but if you play that game without a microphone, I don't know what you're doing with your life, because you need teamwork. You have to be able to talk to people. And
you
it's,
might as well be playing COD at that point.
Right. But yeah, it is one of the most intricate, team-based strategy games that I've seen in a long time, and it's continued now through this, the past decade through the console wars, and now continuing on to our next decade with these newer series. I'm definitely excited for Rainbow Six coming forward.
Yeah, for sure. Especially Rainbow Six Quarantine coming out next year.
Hell yeah.
What? That's a thing? All right, that's certainly going to be something else, and most likely, definitely not a sleeper this time, as Siege really just took off about, a year and a half after it was released. It was really one of the dark horse kind of games. There are so many out there.
And it really snuck up on us.
Not to mention, the amount of esports and professional competition that's come from Rainbow Six. I've seen people like Ammunition and her team, obviously Penta, all those guys that pull in huge crowds for this game, and it's incredible because you're going to continue to see that, I feel, with Rainbow Six. Hopefully one day, not virtually, when we are able to go back in stadiums and things like that. But hopefully one day, not hopefully, but continuing on with Rainbow Six, I can only see a positive future for the esports community.
I definitely agree.
So both of you guys had a little bit different undergrad backgrounds, is that right? Isaac, you studied math, is that correct?
So I actually studied business administration.
Okay.
With a focus in business analytics and a minor in mathematics.
So what you're saying is you were studying all the time?
Yeah, basically. It was definitely a change coming into the master's program. And it's definitely not your typical undergrad coming into a game design degree, but I think it works well with sort of what I have chosen for my career path.
And Bill, how about you? What did you study during your undergrad?
Sure. I jumped in as a business major. After about a semester, it seemed a little light on the math and switched to what was known at the time as interdisciplinary engineering and management.
Wow, okay. Those are very big words.
I highly recommend that kind of degree. Essentially, it's a business degree with the fundamentals of all the engineering sciences. So one's able to be dangerous talking about those, solving problems around those. So it really gives a lot of flexibility no matter what the industry, for the most part.
Mervant92 in the chat says, playing with friends for Ireland recently, Mandalorian? I'm not sure what. I think he's referring to some of your friends, because you spent time overseas doing study abroad, right, Isaac, in Ireland?
Yeah, so I actually met one of my really good friends when I studied. So I studied abroad in Dublin, and I stayed in contact with one of my friends that I met there, and we play all the time together. He was actually recently in Orlando, so I got to go say hi to him.
Oh, that's incredible!
Just about a week ago. Yeah, it's really great, keeping in contact with people from something like that, and being able to play Warzone and Sea of Thieves and Brawlhalla with people.
Yeah.
So far away.
Well, it seems like both of you guys have really invested yourselves into the community side of gaming.
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, it's a major part of why I have remained gaming over time, especially as one graduates from a bachelor's degree. It's really easy to adult it up and go out for happy hours and focus on quote-unquote responsibilities.
The adult times.
Let the Nintendo Wii gather dust, or the Xbox One just sit in the corner and not get a whole lot of tread when there's all kinds of new experiences constantly coming out. So yeah, the community and our times together, basically facing adversity together in these games and overcoming challenges, feeling that sense of fiero, as Jane McGonigal writes in Reality is Broken. For me, essentially, that's what it's all about. It started out with a lot of single player, yet that adrenaline rush that PvP can bring is just a really neat feeling, a very unique feeling, and it varies from game to game. yeah, essentially what we would try to do is have a great sense of flow throughout the game as well. Whereas we're getting a very high KD ratio while we play a game like Battlefield 1. Isaac, I have played a lot of Battlefield 2 and beyond. Ever since Xbox Magazine's Battlefield 2 game on the demo disc, there actually used to be plastic wrapping of the Xbox Magazine, and inside there'd be game demos. That's how it would go down. They would arrive in the mail. And ever since that happened... I did not
know they did that with Xbox Magazine. I had no idea.
Yeah, buddy. And Walnut Muffin and I and company, including Frozen Bananas, we would just be off to the races in that, playing Backstab. It actually had some music, and the level was just one level, but it had tons of replayability. And a game like Battlefield actually lets you revive your friend, which is always just such a nice adrenaline rush. And especially when you're trying to get high KD ratios, and the new tracker network, as Battlefield is part of the tracker network, like so many other games, we can see that, oh wow, we're in the top 5% right now. Like every single life matters, and it brings up this extra sense of gravity while playing the game. And there's just nothing like chucking out smoke. Battlefield's actually built a Frostbite engine. That's amazing particle effects with that game engine. Of course, how games are created through game engines. And diving into the smoke, picking up a friend, jumping out of the smoke, and being ready for anything. It's just...
There's nothing like it, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to just put into words.
I would say that also Battlefield has always had one of the best revive systems, I think, as well. And I think they perfected it in Battlefield 1 when you were able to run in and actually grab your fallen soldier by the shirt collar or the gear and pull them back. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. I know, Isaac, you were a huge Battlefield 1 fan. We've talked a lot about your flying days with Battlefield 1.
Oh yeah, I was a massive Battlefield 1 fan. Played countless hours of that, and I think my favorite part of that was kind of like the community around it, and being able to at the end of the day, at the end of classes, six of my friends more would hop into a game together, flying around in the planes, like running around as a squad with a tank. And there's something just that you can't quite get with other games in Battlefield, where it's just a lot of teamwork. It's a lot of really working together, and that's sort of what makes the game fun, is playing with other people.
That's right. So Isaac, so after your undergrad, did you go directly into the game design program?
No. So after my undergrad, I kind of spent some time looking for jobs, and
within the business industry.
Well, I was really looking for jobs in the video game industry.
Oh,
so
okay.
What I had done my last semester of my senior year of my undergrad was work as an esports brand strategy marketer. I was an intern, and from that I kind of was like, all right, this is really what I want to do, is work in the games industry, because the people are awesome. Obviously, it's something, you get to work on something really cool.
What were some of your responsibilities at that job?
Yeah, so I worked with basically helping manage 6 esports teams, their relationship to a sponsor. So at the time I was working with Mountain Dew and the Game Fuel brand.
Hell yeah.
And we were kind of helping do the messaging and the marketing for that brand, as well as kind of communicating with the individual athletes on each of these esports teams. So after graduation, I was really interested in working in the video game industry, and I didn't get the traction that I necessarily wanted with my degree. So I decided to go back to school and get a degree in game design, so I could, work in the industry that I'm so passionate about.
Right, of course. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Full Sail University, we are an accelerated program, and that also includes the grad program. So both of these fellas here went through an accelerated, very intense program that's not offered, at the rest of the universities of countries. Most grad programs take about 18 months to sometimes up to 2 years. Here at Full Sail, both these gentlemen completed it in just about a year, a little over. So Bill, how about you? Did you run directly into Full Sail after undergrad?
Absolutely not, AJ.
No.
It's funny, like there's this draw, especially senior year, to start looking for jobs that pull. Like a lot of folks were just kind of feel it out that there's a lot of stress around just want to have a job yet, et cetera, et cetera. I never looked for a job my senior year of that bachelor's degree in engineering and management. I just enjoyed it to the absolute maximum and tried to bring the GPA above 3.0.
All right. I've been there before, don't worry. When I graduated high school, my older sister, I'll never forget this, she said, here's your diploma, now let's get out of here before they change their minds.
Exactly. And hopefully, there was maybe, as some folks like to do partying, there was plenty of that senior week. Just made the absolute most of just going a little bit crazy, as college students can tend to do. Gave it about 3 weeks up after graduating, and then yes, it was time to cut the hair for the parents and look for a job.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I found one with the engineering and management degree. It was actually technical sales. So I was a strategic account manager at a semiconductor company known as Maxim Integrated, and these parts that this company sells are analog and mixed signal ICs, or integrated circuits, which is what's powering the Xbox, powering the PlayStation, the computer that we're using right now, etc., the phone. They are major components, not the CPU or GPU particularly, but they're the chips that go into those. And they really matter on that printed circuit board. So I get nice and familiar with trying to score some design wins, doing sales, and it was just really wonderful to get the meeting of the minds together, some electrical engineers, just experts in the field, and try to create a solution if one wasn't even existing.
Yeah, that's a very different experience. You don't really hear that every day, but like you said, they are important components, and there are someone, and I guess someone's, your team that are working on this.
Yes, exactly. And it's a very rapidly changing industry, is semiconductors. Of course, like a lot of the production is outsourced to contractors like Sanmina and Foxconn, etc. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's quite something, because they're certainly made in bulk, and it's pretty interesting just to see what goes on behind the scenes of the iPhone, etc. For example, things that one doesn't usually think about, but things that really matter. And it's really fun to see the supply chain of where all these resources are coming from to make these ridiculously, almost unbelievable electronics we use every day.
So from after that, how did you end yourself down here in Florida?
Well, I did an internship, in fact, in college as well. It was a construction consultancy one in Ghana, West Africa. And
wow. You went to West Africa.
Yeah, it's no joke. Like, you touch down and you feel like you're a part of it. It's a little hard to describe, but it was quite a feeling, of course, to touch down in Accra, the capital of Ghana, which is one of the most peaceful African countries for years running since the 80s. They've been doing the democracy way of government and a lot of peaceful transitions. So it's really been a model for Africa, and wow, what a market for games. Like, it's like very developing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there 10 to 20 years.
Wow.
From that little side note to consider.
Yeah. Thank you for that insight. That's incredible. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, it's coming. Africa's day.
Africa's day is coming.
Any country's day, any continent's day is on the way, if it's not here already.
Starlink will definitely help with that.
Oh, booyah. Starlink. FTW.
Yeah, so tell us what your guys' what were your initial thoughts coming into an accelerated grad program, that's a little bit beyond what you worked in beforehand, but somewhat still in your scope. Isaac, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely excited coming into it, and especially because it was only a 1-year program, because it's not a huge time commitment, and I wanted to get into the industry as fast as I could.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely like very exciting. It was definitely like a big change for me too, because this was the first time I'd live in a hot climate. So I was like, all right, how am I going to survive in Florida? How am I going to survive the heat? But I've made it this far, so.
Well, no one told us. I'm sure they told someone, but I didn't get the memo that it just never stops fucking raining. It just always rains. And it's not peaceful rain. Like I tell my friends on the West Coast, like it's not like peaceful rain like up in Washington or something. Here it's like hot, it's weird, it smells bad. Like the rain isn't normal.
That describes all of Florida.
Right. Hot, weird,
smells bad.
So, another thing here at Full Sail, they kind of make you guys declare a tract. Is that right? When you go through the master's program?
Yeah, in fact, essentially, to pick up the Ghana story as well, I got into the art scene there, including dance and drumming, and that creative side of oneself sort of unlocked while I was there. And this passion for creating something, making something that bring people together is where the game design track was ultimately born from, in a sense. And yes, the Full Sail University Master's Degree Program does have students pick a track after about 4 months, shadowing in industry-like little organizations, game studios. Essentially,
Right.
There's a serious game studio. For those who don't know, serious games, those are essentially games that teach people things about the real world and facilitate amusement along the way. There's an indie track where folks are, of course, making games independently or in independent teams. And it's obviously a very popular way for folks to play today. Also, there is the production track, which is basically game development project management.
All right.
Nifty one right there. And then there's also the one that Isaac was a part of.
That's right. Yeah, Isaac, tell us a little bit about the track that you chose.
Yeah, so Full Sail has a user experience research lab, and essentially we operate, or the lab at Full Sail operates just like any other user experience lab would operate, working with game developers to basically research their products and give them feedback on their products from sort of it's different than QA. Really, the focus of user experience research is kind of in the name. It's to figure out how the users interact with the product, interact with the game. So we look at it from more of like a usability perspective, like what parts of the game have trouble points, what parts of the game do people really like, what can we change about the UI, what can we change about the controls to make this game better. And it's sort of iterative testing using play tests. So we might have a game that we're testing over a few months where we run a variety of different play tests. Mostly what we do is 2 different kinds of testing. So the majority of what user experience researchers do, in my experience, is play testing, which is essentially testing a game with participants who you would recruit. And the other half is usability testing, which is also sort of playtesting a game, but it's in a smaller environment where it's more intimate and you can ask kind of specific questions about people's feelings about the games.
Would you say there's a good amount of psychology aspect to it as well?
Yeah, so it's actually falls pretty well under the psychology field. And traditionally, most people who work as user experience researchers have a degree in human factors, which is a subcategory of psychology. So it's really sort of knowing the player,
understanding how they tick,
knowing the player, knowing what they want, knowing what they're going to enjoy and what they're going to dislike.
I've done some research myself, and I don't remember who said it. I apologize for misquoting, but he had basically said that a lot of times gamers will decide whether or not they like the game within the first few minutes of them touching the controls. And from your experience as a UX researcher and working at the lab, is this true? Can we confirm that?
Yeah, I think to an extent it's true. I think sort of in a vacuum that's definitely true. But I think a lot of the times, especially sort of in the modern world of games, people will actually pick up a game a few times, especially like with Twitch. You know, people will see a game that people are playing on Twitch and maybe buy it and play it and be like, I don't know, I'm not sure about this. And then they see it being played a lot on Twitch and they'll go back to it. So I think that is true for the most part, but I think it's definitely sort of changed.
Right, yeah.
Adapted
for the times.
Game era.
Yeah.
Especially with like the ability to play online with friends and, you know, much better party systems on Xbox and PlayStation and Discord. So
and not to
like,
mention
it really
cross-platform
playing
playing
with your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So so I think that's sort of what's happening with that in today's market.
And Bill, what was the tract that you chose at Full Sail?
Oh, sure. A pretty interesting story. I was looking for a specialty, perhaps. So I was in the serious game studio for a little bit, as that could really help actualize basically an area of expertise. Yet I found the indie studio to be a best match for myself. Essentially, that's really just bootstrapping and making games with a little less structure, and I had a nice bit of freedom to not only do project management as a producer or lead producer, just helping out with leadership producer skills in the studio, but also designing and also making music in game jams, doing writing in game jams. So it was super cool to create a game design document on Google Docs and see that turn out as a virtual reality alien discretionary harmful telepathy shooter known as Humanity Savior, made with over 30 folks, most of them students.
That's incredible. And how long was the development process on this one?
Well, basically, once month 5 hits, it's 30 hours a week in the capstone in this year-long game design masters. And we had about 7 months or so to make it happen. And of course, things did not go according to plan. So it was nice that a 5-month scope for the game was dealing with some leeway where it could be created in 7 months' time. So all in all, it took about 8 months just to make sure that everything was full on together and the game didn't have any breaking bugs or anything like that. And it was a roller coaster for sure.
Yeah, that's very intensive schoolwork. And I mean, at that point, I don't even know if I want to call it schoolwork, because it's really just teaching you to do, to be this designer, and you are actually doing it, and you have a finished product, and you spent the development process. And I think that's what's really awesome about your program, is that you're able to do that. Because a lot of times, you take classes and you can do it yourself online. You go to YouTube, you could do Unity tutorials, Unreal tutorials, things like that. But nothing's going to beat, the experience that you had of putting together a game based from this team. And like you said, only 8 months. That's absolutely incredible. But in very intensive work, 30 hours a week. That's insane. Isaac, was it similar for you like that in the lab?
Yeah. So the lab is kind of a different beast entirely. Sometimes you're working 30 hours, sometimes you're working 50 hours a week. It kind of depends. Like the workflow, it kind of goes back and forth. Obviously, I kind of can't talk about specifics because of NDAs, but
right. And those aren't familiar. A lot of times not a lot of times, every time in the UX industry, you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement saying that you're not going to talk about what you see, things that you see in the lab, things that's revolving the game, and letting people know, like, you're not allowed to run back to your friends and be like, yo, guess what I just tested,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think with any company, you're going to have an NDA if you're working in the industry. unless you're working on, honestly, even if you're working on something that's already out, you tend to be under NDA just for safety reasons.
Yeah, you don't want to spoil the movie magic.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as much as we love leaks, we would be much happier without them.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. Isaac, how many playtests a week were you running?
Oh, it varies. You
Okay.
know, sometimes we have 20 a week. Sometimes we have 5. Sometimes we have none.
And you're working with
Kinda all over the place.
real world publishers, producers, developers?
Yeah, definitely working with people who are actually in the industry. I can't get too specific,
Right.
But,
Yep.
yeah, so it's definitely real experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say to it.
No, thank you. Yeah, that's I think that's what you're looking for. I'll start with Billy first. What was the biggest, adversity or biggest challenge that you faced while at Full Sail in the master's program?
Oh, sure. I think, in fact, just making sure that there was a balance, like some kind of school life balance, was really a bit difficult to nail down some kind of rhythm with that. So I was feeling well, so I could, of course, use that creative energy, technical know-how to make things happen in the indie studio and also in the classes, because, of course, we'd be making games together in the classes on top of that. And yeah, just getting in some kind of rhythm, making sure that there's plenty of sleep, there was time off, disconnecting a little bit here and there. I think that sort of fundamental, that sort of foundation is key for anybody to really be happy and to create things, games in particular, that make others happy. I think once I found that, it was a bit more easy to work on such complicated projects that involve code, that involve game engines, and just tackling problems was what it was all about, and making it, of course, about the problems. I thought that it was a little bit difficult to sync in with other students' work-life balances as well, and being on the same page about that too. So that's something to certainly keep in mind, is just kind of make sure that, like, when it's go time, things are happening. So about it in terms of challenges. Other than that, it was just facing up to the problems and enjoying the journey.
And how about yourself, Isaac? What was one of the main struggles that you had with your master's program?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the hardest things is it's a program that you kind of rely on other people a lot for the work that you do, especially like, game development. It's not a one-man job, although some people have done it by themselves. Stardew Valley, obviously, but that's obviously sort of a savant level person doing that. And I think the hardest thing that I had to deal with was people that sort of, Bill mentioned this, like not sort of matching the same. We weren't on the same page about how much time and how much effort necessarily to put in. And it was difficult at times because it's like, all right, I need to balance my own life. I need to balance my own, sleep schedule and priorities. And because I'm sort of having to pick up some of the slack here and there, the work-life balance got out of balance to some degree. Right. So, yeah.
And, did you also, you have to pay attention, did you take times for yourselves as well? Did you continue, the video game, obviously not as much as you were able to do before, but did you also focus on that as well as a positive aspect?
Certainly, going back to community, the community's almost always playing. It's just a wonderful thing. And I found this little cadence where on Friday afternoons after 5 p.m., it was go time on the Xbox. And yes, noobs would be taken to school on and scoring goals, maybe getting a hat trick in Rocket League and working on those flying skills, and then just taking a full-on day off on Saturday always went a long way, especially just getting out in nature and not really touching base with the smartphone too much. and then having Sunday be a day of passion, just working on what everyone wants to work on and here and there might need to work on, yet just going at that with a good sense of energy for the task at hand.
Absolutely, because you have to remember to take time for yourself, and like you said, your nature walks and stuff like that is very important. You can't, especially in our industry, you spend a lot of time behind this screen in this chair. You spend a lot of time, inside, and it can be a little lonely sometimes. So, what was probably the most fun or crazy experience, like event or anything that you guys had done at Full Sail, obviously prior to the ongoing global situation? For me personally, it was really awesome when I was able to go with all three of y'all to NXT, or both of y'all to NXT. We went together. And that's the WWE show that they put on at school. For those that aren't familiar, the three of us got to go. That was some crazy experience. Looking over, seeing everybody was so close. There's not a bad seat in the house in there.
Yeah, I would have to agree. That was really great. I'd never been to anything like that, and the energy was definitely palpable in the room.
It's just fun being loud and obnoxious with friends.
That was
Exactly,
awesome.
Exactly.
Because you're able to go, like 90 feet from class and go into an arena and scream at these people. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, and cheer, cheer, cheer.
Nothing like seeing 200-pound men absolutely obliterate each other on a stage.
That's right.
With some wild aerial acrobatics.
So,
For real.
very wild acrobatics. That's right. So, moving on for the future. Now that you've both, like we said, we mentioned earlier in the stream, for those of you just joining us, both graduates, valedictorians of the master's program, game design. What is the future hold for both of y'all? Mr. Bill, we'll start with you.
Sure. Well, while I was doing the game design master's degree, one of my pals, Somya, encouraged me to go back to Toastmasters, an international organization for the development of public speaking and leadership skills.
All right.
That I had been, for about a year and a half before I jumped into the master's. And it was a nice move. I got to meet some local Floridians from Altamont Springs and all around the Orlando area and talk about what I wanted to talk about, really anything. So I would talk about esports, I would talk about travel and whatnot. And from there, I was able to, of course, get to know folks in the Toastmasters group a little bit more so. And fortunately, one had some connections in the game industry, which is a way that a lot of individuals jump in or break in, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. And that's essentially what happened. I was connected to electronic arts through the contact at Toastmasters, and I found a gig that I really liked. Of everything I had researched, it just seemed like, whoa, this is a wonderful one, a quality analyst for EA Sports Mobile. And the rest is history. I have been there for 11 weeks now since graduating on August 7th.
No rest for the weary, right? Directly into it, huh?
Yeah, it was literally 2 days off and then into the Madden NFL mobile development process. And wow, it's just pretty darn amazing.
Which is right up your alley, right in niche. Like you said in the beginning of the interview, sports has always been so important to you. So when I heard that, I was, so overjoyed that you were able to find that niche, right away. And, all three of us, big Boston sports fans, go Pats. Shout out to Cam Newton. Hopefully he's doing better, feeling better, all that stuff. Isaac, so what is the future hold for you, for the Mirandalorian, the notorious Mirandalorian?
Yeah, so right now I'm still sort of on the job hunt. Mm-hmm. Definitely got some opportunities for some interviews coming up, and looking forward to kind of just charging forward. And I think I have a good resume. I think I've got a good shot at getting a job, and I think I just I need that shot, and once I get that shot, I'm gonna put my all into it.
Well, you are very dedicated, and I saw a lot of the work that you did. Me myself went into the lab, and walking in and seeing you managing all these people, and we only hope for the best for your future. And it's just a matter of time, and you're going to nail something great. 5 years from now, we're going to be doing an interview for both of y'all, and Isaac's going to be the head of Rockstar UX, and Billy's over there at the top of over at Madden. So it's absolutely incredible you guys went through, and I really admire the amount of work ethic that you chose to put into for your degree programs.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Of course. Well, that is the all the questions I have for you. So I feel like we're about to go into our news segment of the hour. If you guys in the chat have any other questions for Bill or Isaac, we're trying to keep it to about 10:30-ish, to a little bit about after. We'll talk the news, but anything else, of course, you guys can mention in the chat. It's been incredible hearing about both of y'all careers.
Sure, yeah.
Fantastic.
So the first topic that I wanted to start with tonight, and we mentioned them earlier in the stream, our neighbors, WWE just down the street, have also decided to continue to put their hands in their talents, social medias, their Twitches, cameos, things like that. And I understand they want the money, they want that money to come from WWE themselves, but at the same time, that's really shitty. And because these guys, they go home from work and that for work for them is going through a table and falling off, getting hit with steel chair. That's not work for me. And these guys, they come home from work. Adam Cole, his real name Austin Jenkins, hops on Twitch stream, pulls a lot of viewers. All of these guys are really good League of Legends players. Shout out to Xavier Woods, real name Austin Creed, on YouTube with Up Up Down Down. He's done incredible stuff in gaming, gone to Evo, League of Legends, all that stuff. And WWE saw the infamy that came from all of this, and they wanted their hands in this, and they want to make sure that they are the ones controlling it. And now they want to take money out of their talents' paychecks because of this.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think, in my personal opinion, as long as whatever content they're creating doesn't have anything to do with the WWE should let them do what they want to do.
Right.
I mean, obviously they signed a contract, and that's sort of where this is all coming from. But, if someone's doing something in their free time that's one of their passions, and you're going to dip your hands in it, just doesn't seem like something that is appropriate to me, especially, someone's playing video games that has absolutely nothing to do. League of Legends has nothing to do with WWE. And, if they want to sponsor a stream, great.
Go ahead.
If they want to take his revenue, not so great.
No, I'd have to agree with you on that. Bill, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, perhaps just do it on a different handle. It's the thing, at the end of the day, it's a business contract, like you said, Isaac. And they basically signed away that right to own what's on that social media channel. As Mike Felger on 98.5 The Sports Hub would say on Felger and Maz, get off the internet, or just make a new gamer tag, something like that, a new handle, and just roll with that. Because basically, if the WWE doesn't do something like this, they might go underwater with the pandemic that's been surging since March. That's just the reality of it, and I think fans would prefer a WWE versus no WWE.
That's right, and you bring up the pandemic, and it's been, I think we went 3 weeks without having to say that WWE had done something stupid. They said that 150 of their employees, and that stretches beyond from their talents to the guy holding the camera, tested positive. Obviously, they didn't say who it was, but that's a lot of people for this area, and they came out in front and said, yes, that's the amount of people that we had. But for those of you who aren't familiar, they've been continuing to operate here in Florida as if nothing was wrong. People weren't even wearing masks to the venue, the workers. And now that they've moved away from Full Sail, they're back at the Performance Center, so there aren't any the risk of that currently at Full Sail. And then they are now playing where the Orlando Magic play down the Amway Center. But they are being looked at for the way that they handled that situation. So
fair enough there.
Yeah. Well, moving on, guys. Our next topic. I know, Isaac, you're going to be really excited about this. Tonight, Borat 2 releases. I am so excited. Subsequent movie film. I don't know the entire title. I know the last one was like Make Benefit for Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan. This one's something crazy too. But I'm super excited because they also filmed during the pandemic, which I'm not sure if they were allowed to do that, but Sacha Baron Cohen is Sacha Baron Cohen. He gets away with a lot. And he featured people in politics, of course, in the movie, but I'm excited to see this tonight. It's been 14 years since the original Borat.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to talk about that for a minute. I personally think that a lot of people fundamentally misunderstand what Sacha Baron Cohen is trying to do with his medium. And what he does is he might sort of play caricatures, and that's sort of his spiel, but he does that to make people comfortable with him and to expose what they actually believe about things. So you can see it repeated in all of his work, throughout his careers. Specifically, Borat is sort of where he started doing that, and I think he sort of elevated it probably in this film. But I think his whole idea is that I'm going to become someone else to go and talk to people in the real world and kind of expose, bigotry, hatred, conspiracy theory thought, and just sort of, paint this picture of what people are really like beneath the surface.
That's right, yeah. Well, tonight, as I said, at midnight, Borat 2, subsequent movie film. Wow, it's a great success. I'm excited. Sacha Baron Cohen, thank you again for blessing us with more movies, especially during this time. And to bring up movies, Bill, Shia LaBeouf has quite the incredible cinema career, including this year alone, putting out movies like The Peanut Butter Falcon, Honey Boy, and now The Tax Collector.
Yeah, he's crushing it. What else is new? He's an enjoyable watch. Everything I've seen him in is nice. I just appreciate the style that's going on there with Sir Shia, especially in the Transformers.
Yeah.
It's a whole new realm lately with no cinemas, so the movies are just jumping online. So he's very accessible, and yeah, there's a ton to watch, more than ever before. On this side, I'm more in the 80s right now.
Yeah. Well, just to bring up The Peanut Butter Falcon for a moment, Isaac, I don't know if you're familiar with this one, but
I'm not.
Shia, he basically befriended a gentleman who was suffering from Down syndrome, and he was a very professional wrestling fan during the 80s and 90s and absolutely loved it. And he went basically on an adventure with Shia LaBeouf to find one of his people that he loved growing up, one of the wrestlers, the saltwater redneck. And I'll just say absolutely incredible storytelling with that one, because there wasn't a moment where I wasn't blown away by what I was seeing.
Yeah, it's great to see Shia LaBeouf kind of coming back into his own, because he definitely went off the rails for a while.
For a little bit.
I think he's still only maybe got one foot on the rail at this point, maybe not fully on the rails, but it's great to see him sort of coming back and making films again and not being insane.
Crazy on the internet, right? Well, another topic I wanted to bring out, Fallen Order, the lightsaber from Fallen Order is now going to be sold at Galaxy's Edge in Star Wars, the theme parks. So does that mean that Disney has now accepted that into the canon story? Does that mean that this is now officially part of everything?
Has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must be. I think, based on what I know, I think they're trying to make every single piece of EA published video game part of the canon.
Into the history, yeah.
So, the campaign in Battlefield 1 and 2, actually I don't even think there was a campaign in Battlefield 1, but the campaign in Battlefield 2 is, I think, supposed to be something that is within the canon, as well as Jedi Fallen Order, which was a fantastic story.
Yeah, great story. And the lightsaber itself was cool. Cal's lightsaber is awesome.
Yeah, I want it.
How do you
Yeah,
feel
I wonder
about that,
how
Bill?
I'll fetch. The
Say that
price is
again.
right. Like maybe 600.
Yeah, maybe.
I bet you it's less than that. Honestly, I bet you that they'll charge like $350 for it tops.
Sure. Yeah.
I can only hope.
Only hope.
Not that I'm gonna be able to afford it anyways.
Well, guys, we brought up Xbox earlier, and we both y'all big fans of Xbox. As you know, they have a deal with Samsung where you can play the xCloud games on the Samsung phones, and pretty much all the things from like the last 3 years now have the ability to do that when it comes to Samsung. But Xbox now got the new iPhone app, and it's definitely, there's always been the Xbox app for iPhone, but it definitely needed some rework, and it finally got some, and we're able to basically use it. It's not the cloud service. You won't be able to play the cloud service like Samsung, but they now have the app that's essentially a second stream for your Xbox, your home Xbox, like a remote play from your phone. And I also saw they did include the controller as well. So it kind of works if you want to play with people in the house with, if you only have one TV or something like that.
Huge. That would go a very long way. A game like Guacamelee 2, I saw, is on there.
Mm-hmm.
Who doesn't want to get more achievements on the go for the Xbox gamer tag? And a lot of it really does translate. I don't recall how many of those titles get dropped, but it's something like 15 or 20 for the phone that integrate with the Xbox. And it's pretty darn impressive, especially a game like Madden NFL Mobile, what I'm working on right now. Players can have the choice of having PlayStation-style buttons over the players to throw bombs to, or Xbox-style buttons as well. So it's definitely trending in that direction.
Yeah, I think it sort of wraps into Xbox's whole play anywhere sort of attitude, and I think this was something that at least, I'm a pretty big follower of Xbox and definitely wasn't on my radar. So I think it's definitely appreciated. And it's something that PlayStation has had for a couple years now.
Yeah, they have had the ability to play at home with the remote play on the screen.
Yeah, so it's definitely exciting.
Yeah. And some of the cloud service games that Billy had mentioned, Hellblade's Sensua's Sacrifice, if I'm saying that right.
Senua.
The game now has updated controls for the mobile as well, and it seems like a lot of these games are starting to adjust to that as well, like on-screen controls, touch screens, obviously on-screen joystick, things like that.
Let's go. It's the biggest chunk of the electronic games industry is the mobile sphere. It's around 70 billion a year.
Oh, wow.
And it's growing like crazy, especially a game like Genshin Impact. That is the rage right now on the streets of Tokyo. And it's just a no-brainer for companies that are obviously trying to make money. Mm-hmm. In fact, everything I hear, around 10% of games that get made professionally actually break even and go green in the revenue column, or in the net income column, I should say. So yeah, whatever a developer can do, that's obviously in a good price range to make happen on the go is going to be a thing. And be really interesting to see what really sticks within 5 years.
Yeah, some of the games they can do. Can you imagine playing Halo with mobile controls, Isaac?
Oh man, I couldn't even imagine that. I mean, I think with xCloud, you're going to even be able to connect your Xbox controller straight to your phone. So hopefully I don't even have to play with mobile controls because I got big thumbs.
Yes, but yeah, definitely looking forward to some what they can do with that. So last night the three of us got together and we hopped on Warzone, did some zombie royale with three of us. It was the first time in a while that we were able to get together and play games, so it was an awesome experience. But I've said on the stream before that I do believe that Warzone is the best battle royale that's been made. I don't think there's anything better. And they went ahead and added some more content now for Halloween. We have the Haunting of Verdansk, and the entire Warzone map is dark. There are zombies instead of going to the gulag in one of the modes. That's a lot of fun. And my only critique with it is that I think a little bit of lighting could have been a little better, and because there are areas that there are poorly lit, which is what you're going for, and that's awesome. I loved that immersion, being able to look in and there was a guy literally standing right in front of me, didn't see him for a couple minutes, and he didn't see me either. That was awesome. But then there's also areas of the map that are the moon is just a little too much, and it's a little bit, honestly, it looks a little bit brighter than even in the daytime itself. But overall, crazy. I know, Isaac, you got some more details on Warzone and all the updates.
Yeah, definitely. I think I definitely agree with you. Warzone is the premier battle royale on the market right now, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. 150 players, really robust map, and I think they kind of perfected a lot of the systems in the game. Especially having guns that have preset attachments, so that you don't have to customize the attachments in the game. Having an armor system that's a lot more streamlined, and I could talk more about that, but I think that what they've done with the haunting of Verdansk is something really special, and it's really cool seeing Call of Duty kind of come back into its own after what I would say was kind of a gap in excellent games.
Yeah, definitely a gap.
And I mean the zombie battle royale is fantastic. Playing with 3 players and running away from zombies and then becoming a zombie and being able to rocket jump into the air and sneak up on people. I think it's probably the greatest event Call of Duty has ever done, in my opinion.
Wow.
It's stupid. It's like Left 4 Dead in Battle Royale, shooting up zombies that are trying to basically eat you alive. Absolutely nuts. I think it's about 70 million players in Warzone a month right now. Just a super high number. I want to say it's at least 70 million players have been playing it. I don't know if that's the monthly active user count, but of course it's extraordinarily high, and for fine reason. It's an arcade experience. You can just jump right in, and yes, it's nighttime. It's eerie. You want to get a weapon with a thermal scope, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Power to the thermal scope, and I don't know if you guys have played Spellbreak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually was testing Spellbreak for a long time. I can say that now, but I was in the shadows testing that one for a long time. But I loved it.
Dang, yeah, that's a Boston game developer right there representing. And crazy moment that I recorded while basically protecting you two fellas. A zombie had touched down on the ground, and for folks who might not know, it's kind of an experience when you drop out of the sky like a zombie.
Yeah.
Leave it at that. And the zombie is not UP, it's OP. The zombie is quite powerful. And we saw a jump that went right over basically like a wall in a building. And if you just pan it, like just take the time to grab that right joystick and pan with the zombie, absolutely just crazy.
Yeah.
And like happening before your face and an actual threat. We made it pretty far at that. So that's where it really shines, is that sort of flow. There are less breaks in the action like Call of Duty has been known for, just a lot of team deathmatch and whatnot. Way less cuts in a battle royale, which I think is pretty clear why the genre has become so successful.
And
yeah, go ahead.
To talk more about the immersion, you really do get lost. Like you got lost before in Warzone, but now with the darkness, and I hope that this stays for a while, because there is another mode you don't have to play with the zombies. You can play the regular Warzone, but in the darkness as well, and it keeps you on your toes, and that's I think that's incredible.
Yeah, I would definitely agree, and I think just from a sort of a game design perspective, it's a really kind of they've done a lot of really smart things with Warzone, and this sort of wraps into the zombies mode as well. So like I think Gulag is probably the smartest thing anyone's done.
Oh yeah, such a good idea.
It's all of a sudden, I guess Apex kind of did it first with being able to call players back in, but you never have a break in engagement. So it's like, it keeps you invested, and it's sort of the same way in the zombies mode, where if you die, you become a zombie, and you still have a chance to stay in the game if you collect two purple
vials,
stims, 2 vials from killing living players. So they've done a really, really good job keeping people engaged and keeping people, invested in the game.
Yeah,
Which I think was the biggest problem with battle royales to that point.
replayability is so good in Warzone, especially now during the Halloween event, and that was something that I hated about battle royales is I didn't see any replayability in PUBG and Fortnite, anything like that. It was just, I was pissed. I was like, so you want me to sit here in this menu for a little while, drop down into it, and then 4 minutes later I die, and now I got to do the whole thing over again. I was like, this is the stupidest thing. I was like, who created this genre of video games? I was just awful. But then, Warzone comes around, and I will say, I was like, I'm not going to play it just because of Battle Royale, and I'm glad that I did, because the replayability is awesome. You do get lost in it. Some of the matches can take up, like we did last night, what was almost 30 minutes we were in there. That's a long game, dude. And that for me is probably its highest point when it comes to Warzone.
Easily. Yep. It's an experience unlike any other. And I don't think any other studio has the sort of capacity and resources than what Activision and their team has done with somehow just switching from Gulag to turning into a zombie with all these different abilities. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this was kind of like a stealth drop.
Yeah, very stealthy.
It just came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
It really did. It really did. I love it.
Do you guys see something happening for the winter season? I hope that they're doing like a blizzard or like a snow or something like that. That'd be a lot of fun.
You would think. I know Call of Duty uses its own proprietary engine, and that engine's going to have some kind of weather effects, and it's just a matter of putting those pieces together and making it almost like a snowy Hogwarts.
That would be awesome.
Out there, and I know a few games like Fortnite. Basically, like you could be a snowman, if I'm not mistaken, in Fortnite, which is pretty wild when you're looking at your cousin at the snowman running around along those lines. So there's like this room for creativity in a snowy space, and one just wonders too, like our big draw for Battlefield was the destructible environments. How like you could really just be a tank, shoot a building, and then just drive over the building. One just wonders like what kind of particle effects, like can you like shoot a mound of snow? Can you throw a snowball at an enemy's face and cover the goggles?
Cover their goggles, yeah. It's interesting. Well, another topic I wanted to bring up tonight, this is our second to last, September 1999. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of this video game. It was made in Unity, which at Full Sail learned a lot with Unity. I know they're making a switch to Unreal now, but this game was made in Unity. It's free on Steam, and honestly, this is one of the most gorgeous games I've ever seen. It's a found footage game, and it's supposed to be set in 1999, and even with the camera effect over it, it still looks incredible. Like it looks like I was standing in these people's houses, and it's playable for about 5 minutes. But this thing will scare the living fuck out of you, let me tell you. So if you guys have the opportunity and the listeners have the opportunity, go ahead and try and get September 1999 for the Halloween. If you need a good free scare, definitely give that a shot.
Yeah, the jump scares are obviously a popular way to pass the time and enjoy life doing those kinds of games. Of course, with successes at like Five Nights at Freddy's. I believe I said that all right, as I've rarely played the game. And then even the capstone manager, our indie capstone manager, Roy, created a game called One Scary Door on itch.io, which is a really neat experience with jump scares. And this September 1999 looks to be like no exception to the rule. And yeah, just taking a quick peek at the screenshots, the graphics are almost out of this planet's trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
And that's something interesting because I remember I showed it to my friend on a YouTube channel. I showed him a YouTube clip of it, and he said, was this made in Unreal? And I said, you would think that because of how gorgeous it looks, but no, it's a Unity game. And so the developers behind this really put a lot of effort into making sure that this looks awesome and also scares the fuck out of you. Final topic for the night, boys. I know, Isaac, you're going to be excited about this. Halo the Master Chief Collection to be remastered for Xbox Series X. and that's awesome. Bringing that over. That is now what, 3 decades of Halo across 3
Gosh,
consoles.
yeah. I mean, close to that for sure. I mean, I'm definitely really excited. I've always been a huge Halo fan, and I think I kind of keep coming back to this, but it goes back to Xbox's whole philosophy. It's like play any game anywhere at any time.
Mm-hmm.
And Halo is obviously kind of their flagship franchise, so I think it's kind of a no-brainer to bring it to Series X, optimize it for Series X with 4K 60, 4K 120, whatever they're shooting for. And yeah, I'm definitely gonna hop on board and play some.
Get back into it.
Play
Yeah.
some 1v1s, play some Halo 2, play through the campaigns.
I want to be on your team, Miranda Lorian. That sounds extreme. That it's being remade. Halo could definitely use some more juice, especially with Infinite's delay. It could be the reason why I don't get a Series X right at launch. Yet, yeah, anything to get people playing Halo. I know that the Halo 5 community, I do play it still rather competitively. It's relatively small, whereas Halo used to be the FPS on console.
That's right, yeah.
End of story. Everyone's playing it. Folks in the military, folks in Asia, doesn't matter. And anywhere there's an Xbox, folks are playing Halo for very good reason. It has amazing mechanics for anyone who's not played it. It just really drives well. It really plays almost like a dream, and it's fair. So it'll be really sweet to see that on the Series X. That sounds like a can't miss, and it sounds like it's really going to boost that player population. And one has to hope that 343 Industries can add a little bit of innovation to that experience, as I know I would be certainly looking for that, as Halo matters, and I'm ready to see it just go to the cream of the top, the crop once again.
I'm excited, and not to mention what they were going to be able to do with, processing-wise, gameplay-wise. It's going to be probably some of the smoothest Halo that we've seen in a long time.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever, yeah.
Some would say.
As some would say, yeah. And Isaac, I know you, I just remembered you had a topic about Cyberpunk you wanted to bring up before we end up here.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to quickly talk about some of the new news coming out of Cyberpunk Night City Wire 4. So they actually sort of went in depth on the vehicles in the game, and one thing that I specifically thought was really interesting is that they actually partnered with Keanu Reeves. Obviously, Keanu Reeves is going to be a character in the game. He's in all the ads, so that's not spoilers.
No spoiler. And he's also an incredible person.
Yeah, he's also awesome. And he has a motorcycle company that makes custom motorcycles called Arch Motorcycles. So anyone who's in the chat right now, go ahead and look up Arch Motorcycles, ARCH. And they are beautiful. They are the coolest motorcycles I've ever seen. And CD Projekt Red decided, hey, let's use the sounds from those motorcycles. Let's use the design language from those motorcycles to make the motorcycles in Night City in Cyberpunk.
That's
and,
insane. That's so wild.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Let me just take a second to get the link to that and drop it in the chat. But yeah, it's really, really cool. Really, really exciting.
Yeah, Rob Smith in the chat says, can't wait for Cyberpunk.
Yeah, it's truly going to be breathtaking.
It's certainly been a while. I don't know when it was originally scheduled. Maybe last November, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think it's been a long time, and we talked about in the stream a couple of weeks ago that the delays were going to happen, and we knew that was going to happen anyway. But we're excited now. We're finally ready. I just hope that they didn't shoot themselves in the foot by giving themselves this date. Obviously, we heard about the crunch time and all that, but Cyberpunk, people have been looking forward to this probably a long time. I can't even put a number on it. The amount of people that have been looking forward to this game.
Everyone.
On
Just
Series
everyone.
PS5. Do we know?
I'm sorry?
I haven't researched. Is it going to be on the Series X or PS5?
Yeah, they will be.
Yeah, I can speak on that for a second real quick. So they are coming at launch, but they're not going to be optimized.
Mm-hmm.
So it's whatever the Xbox One X version, the PS4 Plus version, you can play on the Series or the PS5. But we're not getting the optimized version until probably later in the year.
It makes sense, though. Yeah.
But I'm sure it's still going to be fantastic. It's going to be an amazing experience. And I would say, you have 3 life paths to choose from. Start one in the unoptimized version, and when the new optimized version comes out, play another one.
Yeah, that's a good insight. Good idea. I'm excited to travel around Night City. It's going to be incredible. Well, fellas, that is it for tonight. That is our interview. I'm going to go ahead and cut to both of you guys now, and feel free to say whatever you like. The floor is yours. Shout out, plug, whatever you need. I'm going to go find us someone to raid for tonight, and then we'll come back and do our shout outs. So the floor is yours, gentlemen.
Okay, sweet. It's been really a treat being on with you two, Bruce, Isaac, and AJ, and connecting with the audience, with other folks who are also passionate about games. I know a big part of Enter the Gamer Actual is the community aspect of it, and how games bring us together, how games can actually help folks stop fighting one another in real life. And games are just such a terrific medium. So being on a show like this and talking about these kinds of experiences has really been cool. It's a dream come true to be on Enter the Gamer Actual. And yes, who knows what is to come in the future, particularly. Yet, I really am enjoying the Madden NFL 21 mobile experience, so highly recommend to download. Give it a little 5-star review if you think that sounds true. And of course, this is the community to hear always some awesome updates. Thanks a lot again.
Yeah, I mean, I would kind of just sort of echo what Bill has said. I think it's really excellent to come on and talk about something that you're passionate about and talk about video games. Be part of this community. I've definitely really enjoyed sort of talking through my experiences, my career path, and talking about some of the cool upcoming games we have here. And I think it's going to really be a stellar year for video games, despite the setbacks COVID has. Now, AJ, is it cool if I do some shout outs to some people that showed up in the chat here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to do a quick shout out to Rob Smith here for showing up. Will, I know you're lurking in the chat somewhere there. Dan, I know you're there. Chase somewhere maybe. Cade, and also anyone from my family. Thank you guys for joining the stream tonight. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, and real quick, same to Kung Fu Blunts. We got J.K. Ricker reppin', and anyone who I might have missed. Super neat, including the Moo Bear, of course. All kinds of folks. We got Frozen Bananas, etc. And again, anyone who I may have missed. Thanks for coming out tonight. This show is full of wonderful information. It's great to listen to while doing some adulting, also to know.
Thank you, guys. We're going to cut over to our shout-outs now. I've also linked our Discord to the Enter the Gamer Actual community Discord, which both Bill and Isaac are part of. If you'd like to continue the conversation on there, or just say hi, do whatever you'd like. Be a part of the community, especially now during these hard times. So shout out everyone to ROE Gaming Havelock in North Carolina. Also the Hybrid ATX Summer Camp in Texas. We have a new interview coming up with Mr. Gonzalez, the CEO of Hybrid ATX Summer Camp. He'd like to do another interview with some other members of his company, so look forward with that. Shout out to the Orlando Wizard. Him and I have some plans to go do some social distance, some safe stuff here around Orlando. So be looking forward to that. And in the meantime, head over to his YouTube channel and check out some of his reviews of some of the local Orlando attractions, Disney, and things like that. Also, Modern Programming, our friend Chris, great mobile developer, modernprogramming.com, developer of Anti-Pong, our very first episode. So shout out to him. Shout out to Floppy and the Sleepy Planet. Looking forward to that release. Remy Crespo, the creative director over there. You can also hear his interview on here as well. Our newest fans, Digitally Distorted. She was actually our interviewer last week, and you can hear our episode for that. Infinium 360 and Frozen Bananas. Thank you for following. You can follow myself on everything, AJ_East Coast. And we also have here our link to the breast cancer awareness and research that we are running for this month, trying to grab $1,000 for the month of October. You can subscribe to this to the podcast on Apple, Amazon, and Spotify. This episode and more are available. And our VIP fan for the month of October is Austie Champ. Thank you guys once again for coming out. This has been absolutely super fun. We got to do this again in the future and catch up some more. Any last minute words, fellas?
Well, yeah, just thank you for having me on the stream. It's been a great time, man.
Stay safe. Have fun out there.
All right. And we are going to be rating Sono Kid. He's playing Dead by Daylight, so if y'all will hang around while we get that going. My name is AJ East Coast, and I have been your host. It's been incredible, and we will see you next week.